Well, folks, we're here. We've made it to 100, well, over 100 now, subscribers. And I thank everybody dearly for this. This is something that I never thought I'd really actually put too much effort into or get better at. And you guys have done so much for me. And I thank everybody for that. I made a promise. I'm bound to keep it. I will be doing a Demon Slayer, unbiased, picking out everything I can find that's justifiable why everybody loves the show so much. Review. Now, the plan is I'm going to divide this into 2 videos. This first half is going to be season 1. The second half is going to be the second season / the movie. I haven't personally watched anything past the first season. And this could be tough for me, but I'm going to do my best to make this video not look like I'm just bashing on everything, because that's just not right. I promised a video with minimal bashing. We're going to go into this arc by arc, and then at the end of the video, I'm kind of going to go on with my bias, but until that end of the video comes, 100% non-bias review. Should be a good time. Who knows how this is gonna go, but I am very thankful. So with that being said, everything out of the way, this has been Squids, and this is Demon Slayer. I'll talk to y'all at the end of the video. Bye. Alright, so the anime starts with an arc called the Final Selection arc, where for the most part we start off kind of learning about Tanjiro's life and what it is at this point in time, how he's pretty much the head of the household, and he's got, siblings and his mother, kind of varying through all ages. He's the man of the house. He goes to the village, and he's carrying charcoal to make sure there's enough money so everybody in the family can get food for New Year's. However, we do come to find out on the way back from this trip that, well, first things first, Tanjiro has a great nose. Pretty, odd thing to have, but he's got a great nose, and you come to find out that there's these things, demons in this world, who do feed off of humans. And a lot of people have been affected by this. So it's not just some random thing. It seems to be a pretty common occurrence that happens at night, because during the daylight, they burn to death. At least from what we know at this point in time. Because I've seen many shows where, stronger ones aren't affected by things, and this is shonen, so there could be plot armor. However, that's what we know so far. Tanjiro gets back. Family slaughtered. Everybody's dead. And within seconds, we kind of find out that it wasn't pretty, and it's really shameful, but I will give it this point that they do a really, really good job with the blood and animation, and just adding the dramatics to the effect of everything. But we do find out that Nezuko is alive, or at least she has a pulse. And after that, he's kind of freaking out, kind of trying to figure out what the heck to do, considering the fact that everyone's dead and needs to get to a village to, double check. However, she pretty much takes him over because she's a demon now. And we run into Giyu, who at this point is in a really huge role. He realizes that Tanjiro has some, potential to become something great, and especially with the fact of that Nezuko isn't acting like every other demon, even though the pairs that this has happened to in the past, and gives him a chance to go train. So we get this huge training arc, which is, well, it's not huge, it's only 5 episodes, which is this arc itself. And we run into who, at this point at least, is Tanjiro's sensei, which is Sakonji. And he seems to be kind of like a mysterious-esque like guru who's obviously clearly done this a lot in the past. Come to find out during this training that he has had many pupils taken away from him at the finals of this training, so he wanted to make sure that Tanjiro would be ready and good to go. And while this is going on, Nezuko has been like knocked out for a year in a comatose while he was training and everything. And while he's training, he runs into 2 past pupils who, who's to say if they're important later on in the future, but Makomo and her brother. He passes, he splits the boulder, he goes to the final selection arc, ends up killing this huge demon who's ended up having like a 50 body count, and the stronger they are, usually the more humans they have killed. And he passes, gets his sword, gets his bird, and one of the key points is that the swords match like their owner's aura, and his turns up black, which isn't very common. We do find out, but at the end of this arc, that's pretty much all we do find out. What do I think of this arc? I think the first arc is very solid, and that opinion was an opinion I always have had. We get, a background, a slight background of the characters, a growth arc, great background music. Like, that is something you have to praise the show for, is the great background music. And the animation style, the CG is a little, this is going to be hated, it is a little chunky, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It does turn out really good. I do appreciate it, and I'm pretty excited to see where the animation keeps going from there, because from what I've been told, it keeps beefing up and chunking up, and I'm praying for that. So, first arc, final survival arc, oh my gosh. Final selection arc. I'd give this arc like a solid 7.5 out of 10. It's got me wanting more, and I'm very excited to continue on. I just kind of wish they would have drawn it out a little longer to build some more development. But we are just getting started, so I'm not going to nitpick or anything. It was pretty dang solid. And with that being said, let's get on to the next short little arc here, the Kidnapper's Bog arc. On to the second arc. We have the Kidnapper's Bog arc, which is it's a short one with only 2 episodes being in this one. We get Tanjiro after his extensive training and everything. They talk about his sword pretty much a little bit and what he is to expect going forward as he gets his first mission. He gets the demonslayer guild's clothing, which is like, I guess, for like lower demons and things like that, pretty immune to cuts and scratches and bites. And he's off. He gets a box for Nezuko, which is like, well, really compact light wood. So he's getting kind of set up for the adventure ahead of him. He heads to his first town, and we come to find out that this demon's been taking girls off the streets at night. And that's pretty much what we know. Tanjiro gets to town, and he's kind of searching for this demon. And one of the main victim we find lost his fiance. Nobody believes him that they just disappeared. We get this kind of confliction of Tanjiro wanting to obviously solve this case, but at the same time try to figure out, who did this to Nezuko, which he's kind of got an assumption already. And also find the same person, because that's what the hunch leads to, that would be able to help turn her back into a human. And that happens to be Muzan, or Michael Jackson, which we might call him, because we all made this meme 4 years ago. He is Michael Jackson. So we find this demon, and it turns out it's kind of like the swamp powers, where he kind of travels into the water, and he's got like 3 separate, I wouldn't say, well, it's physical entities. However, they're all like almost schizophrenic, because they all have different personas of the same. And he's kind of having troubles because he did dive in. He got the girl out. Not the girl that was the victim's girl, but a girl that was just about to be a victim. And he has him hold her. Now, he has to fight this while also protecting them, which can be kind of a challenge. And we come to find out that his old sensei was like hypnotizing Nezuko that night so that she wouldn't attack humans, but like attack demons. They are the enemy. And so she comes out of the box to kind of help. And she does a good job protecting them while he goes into the swamp of like a nastiness to go and defeat these things. One of them's on land, 2 are in the water. It's disgusting. He sees the kimonos of all the victims, and or a little bit before that, he shows in his in the demon's vest all of like the trinkets and hair pieces that he keeps as trophies for all the 16-year-old girls he has murdered, because according to this guy, after 16 they don't taste as good and they're ruined. So he kills them all, and it helps that, you know, his like elemental power is with like water and everything. So he kills those 2, comes back up. Nezuko's doing fine. She's holding her own weight, but obviously she can't destroy this one. And he gets, finally, Tanjiro gets to him, asking him, you know, where is Michael Jackson? And, well, we find a scene where he pretty much threatens this demon that he's always watching. So obviously he's like the uttermost being, the head honcho of the demons, watching all of them. And he won't say anything. He's full of fear. So Tanjiro ends up slaughtering him, which gives you kind of this vibe that, you know, he's grown up a decent amount wanting to figure these things out. But he, you know, gives the victim these hairpins that he ended up ripping off and saying, you know, hopefully this is enough to kind of give you a memory of them, or her, I should say, specifically. And he's like, well, what do you know? And it's he can feel from the grasp in his hands that obviously he has suffered a lot. And within the 2 years that we have skipped, he has grown as a person, where he knows that things aren't going to work out. You know, people die. It happens. But on the other side of it, he's also very anxious and wants to find these things out right away, which we understand. But at some point, it's like, this is going to take a while, man. You're not just going to figure this stuff out right away. So he leaves, gets on a new mission in one of the prefectures of Tokyo, and he gets some udon right away, because he is like blown away by how huge the city is. Because understandably so, he's from the mountains in like a hickey village, and he gets some udon, you know, whatever. Instantly picks up Michael Jackson's scent, gets to town, sees him, and he's gonna attack him right away in the middle of all these people. Come to find out, he's got this daughter with him and a wife, and he's been like hiding among the humans, and nobody knows about it. And right when he's gonna, you know, kind of do something, but yet he's in a shock, Michael Jackson slashes another human with his fingernails and turns out into a demon in the middle of the city. So that's the end of the arc. Pretty much just like a first task, finding out what this guy looks like and how we're gonna go about this type of arc. The fighting scenes look great. Yet again, I think this one could have been maybe an episode longer, per se. I think that's going to be a common thing. But we're going to keep going. Mouth shut. Though, overall, it was a pretty solid arc setting up what's bound to come from now. I give this one a 6.5 out of 10 for this arc. And we're going to head to the next arc, which is also a slightly shorter arc. So I will see you guys in a minute. And on to the Asakusa arc we go. This arc starts off pretty much directly where the last arc ended. And we see Tanjiro taking down that demon that was taken into demon form by Michael Jackson. And we meet two other characters right off the bat. One of them is going to be one that I ultimately despise, Yushiro, and his companion, Tamayo. Now, Yushiro is one of those characters that they're in twos, okay? So you got one that is like a wise, I wouldn't say elder, but wise guidance and following character, and then you've got the one that sticks by their side and is, I wouldn't say exactly tsundere, but definitely tsundere, because he drives me insane. But they meet and they take the demon that just got attacked and his wife that got slashed before anything bad could happen. And Tanjiro meets up with Natsuko again, and while that's all happening, we get to see Michael Jackson dropping off his family in the carriage and kind of just being like, look, I got some family business to take care of. You guys go home, be safe. I'm gonna go dig into it. So while he's going, he sees this one drunk guy stumbling along and bumps into him. Rightfully so, he kind of deserved what he got, but he got in his face, so he literally murders him. And then he murders his brother. And then he takes the girlfriend of the guy and melts into him like a little pool of jelly, which is pretty neat if I do say so myself. But Michael Jackson hires two demons to go and get that demon slayer. And we get this flashback to a scene where I'm pretty sure it's Michael Jackson on the ground and a demon slayer with the exact same hair color and earrings as Tanjiro. So it isn't given, it isn't said, but I'm pretty sure it's some type of blood relation, and from the flashbacks it almost looked like it was his father. So take it as you will. Don't quite know yet, but that's my guess. And so he sends them to attack him, and we go back to Tanjiro, pick him Nezuko, and the udon guy is just pissed because not the fact that he paid for it and left, the fact that his delicious craft was dropped into the floor. Understandably so, because that udon looked amazing. So he orders two of them, gulps them both down, and gets the hell out of there. We get to see the two demons that are hired to actually go and attack and find them. And one of them's got like these eyeballs in his hand that guide him through things. And the other one is this gal that has a bunch of balls with her. That's what I gotta say about that. So we finally get to the lair where Yushiro and Tamayo are at. And she kind of just like explains to him, like, look, there's two things I want you to do. And keep in mind that Yushiro did not want to bring him in the first place because he's like that, like I said, the clingy, annoying, don't touch my woman type of person. But two things they want. One, she wants to examine Nezuko, and two, she wants him to bring demon blood so she can study and try to find a cure, which Tanjiro is obviously very accepting of. And while they're trying to figure this out, the two demons come, and they are attacking. And they work as a tag team. The one with the eyeballs in the hands does this thing where he guides the thing like almost like a guided missile, and the other one's got the strength that throws and does the damage. So it's not going so hot. At first, Tanjiro's attacking the chick, and Nezuko's going to go for the one with the eyeballs. But that plan doesn't work out so hot. So Yushiro says, look, you get this one, me and Nezuko will get the other one. Okay, they split up. And Tanjiro's getting the crap out of him. But we do get to see a bunch of his water technique forms, and they are actually very well executed and designed. And it's a good, I guess, just a well out show of what he can do at this point in time. And he ends up defeating the eyeball one. Now, we get to see Nezuko and the other one kind of going back and forth and almost just like game of soccer, because earlier on Nezuko lost her leg trying to fight it and gets a serum from our good old healer, and Tamayo doesn't know what's going to happen because obviously Nezuko doesn't drink blood, but it seems to grow her leg back and increase her power substantially. Now Tamayo ends up freaking like using her blood aura, and it poisons the one with the soccer balls into saying Michael Jackson's name, which ends up pretty much any demon that does that out gets killed by it because he is in every single one of their bloods. And she gets literally just destroyed with arms. It is pretty freaking gruesome, to say the least. That was probably one of my favorite scenes of this arc. And right after that, they take Nezuko to the basement and they're going to heal up because of the aura that was spread, and she got injected with it. Not injected, she just breathed it in. And we come to find out that, of course, that poor girl with the ball was just this innocent type of girl that just wanted to play around. But obviously, with everything going on and being injected with the demon blood, it just didn't work out, and it sucks. So we go back to the basement, and of course, Yushido is all defensive and blah, blah, blah. But Tamayo, offers to take Nezuko with her to protect her because obviously, it's going to be dangerous out there. However, Tanjiro decides, no, I'm going to take her with me, even though Nezuko obviously depicts them as, Yushido, her little brother, and Tamayo kind of like her mother. And at first, she was confused because obviously she thinks that she was kind of put under a spell to think only humans were like family. But with the fact that she thought of them as family means that she thinks they are good people. And that makes Tamayo cry because she's been a demon for over 200 years. And to have the feeling of being accepted as a human was definitely life-changing for her. And they're going to switch cities now. And who knows, we'll see him again. But, Oh, and then at the very end of it, Yushido finally says that Nezuko's pretty, because in the beginning she thought she was ugly, and probably just to get that little sundry factor going on again. And right after that, the very end of this arc, we run into one of the demon slayers that we've seen at training school, who so far has only been a whiner boy, and that would be Zenitsu. And that's going to lead into the next arc of where we're going off from here. I'd say this arc was probably pretty solid. We got plot development. We got things that we're going to add up later on to the future, some premonitions and things to read into. And then we got to see a bunch of new cool attacks and designs with, of course, like I've said before in all these other parts, great music. We had some annoying parts, but you're going to get that with mostly any show. And so far, not so bad. This arc's going to be a 7, and let's move on to the next arc. Alright, and off we are to the Suzumi Mansion arc. And this arc is, not to start off negative, I guess, but it's definitely my least favorite arc at this point. So, we leave off with the one and only Zenitsu pretty much trying to creepily marry a chick that found him on the side of the road while he was like passed out of fear that he was gonna die because he's an annoying freaking character and very, very like, I guess, not yandere, but just whines until he finds something justifiably to not whine about. But we get past that. Even Tanjiro gets annoyed of it. And so he drags him to the next location because that's what the birds want him to go to. And they run into some kids. And these kids are telling him, we lost our brother. He's gotten taken away. And he's in that mansion right there. And before anybody can even investigate it, a body comes flying out. I don't know if it's their brother or what it is, but it flies out And Tanjiro goes up to it, and he passes away. And it turns out not to be their brother, thank goodness, but at the same time, good riddance. And so he leaves Nezuko out with them, and they go investigate it, even though he's got to frickin' drag Zenitsu by his toes because he doesn't want to go in. So they're in there, and the two kids follow because they hear scratches from the box. And while they're walking, Zenitsu, one of the kids, and Tanjiro and the other kid split up because the walls start like rotating and moving, and they don't know why. But I mean, obviously they kind of know it's going to be a demon, but they don't know exactly why yet. And while they're going through, they run into another character, I think it's Inosuke, and he's got like a boar head on, and they don't even know what he is quite yet, except for the fact that he's got the same swords as them, and he's some type of demon slayer. And they wander through this mansion, and they don't know how many demons are in here or how many humans are in here. They just know they got to clear the demons out and get the humans safe. And we get to see all three of them tackle one demon at a time, with Inosuke taking on this one demon who like has these like boorish, gluttonous look to him. And to be honest with you, he had the most boring kill. Wasn't exactly the most thrilling of the bunch. And then we had Zenitsu, who ended up murdering this like crawler one that had this really long elongated tongue and like two sets of eyes that really actually pretty neat to look at. And his thing is like he's afraid of this damn thing the whole time. He's hiding behind the kid, but for some reason, like when he gets trapped in the corner, he like blacks out and uses his power and just slays this thing in like seconds. But then he says the kid did it, and like it totally blacked out, and it was like, oh my goodness. So after that, we go to Tanjiro, and he pretty much tells the girl to hide until he fights this demon. And at first, they're trying to figure out what the heck's going on, and they run into her brother, the one that got lost in the mansion first, and he has a bongo with him, and his bongo's the one that ends up switching rooms. And he got that from the main demon that Tanjiro's going to face, where he's got bongos on him that switch walls left to right, up and down, and one of them shoots like claw attacks out. And this other bongo was from the back of that demon for when the three of them got in a fight to try to eat him, because we come to find out he's got this rare blood. And so he tells him to hide. Excuse me. He tells him to hide, and if it's not him, don't answer, hit the bongo and go. Well, he gets to fight this demon, and he's getting the snot rocked out of him, but ends up finding out that like his sheet music and his bongos mean like everything to him unintentionally. So he dodges all his sheet music and ends up slaying him and complimenting him and telling him his music was good, but he's a piece of shit for being a demon essentially. And so far, pretty much every demon that has been killed has like a somehow tragic-esque backstory, which is kind of expected. Take the ones that are weak and down, turn them evil. And we also found out this guy, I can't remember if I mentioned it in that one arc, but he's one of the 12 demon moons, which are like Michael Jackson's top 12 demons in his guild, but he got kicked out because apparently he can't get any stronger. And so he's sliced off, and Tanjiro takes some blood from the demon and sends it on to Our Lady that's doing the medical research, and this Neko cat pops up and takes the blood from the knife and sends it over that way. And after that, we see Zenitsu, and he's protecting Nezuko from Inosuke, and because he's beating the crap out of him because he senses there's a demon in there, and he remembers that Tanjiro says that that's like more important than his life. So they get in this huge brawl that's like totally completely pointless over the fact that Inosuke is just an idiot. But in the end, we come to see his face, and he kind of looks like a chick with a male body. Feminine. And so they kind of forget about it because the birds tell them that they need to go down the mountain. And they bring the kids out of the mountain. And of course, Zenitsu pulls the, oh my gosh, that kid's strong again, because he forgot. And he's like, he wants him to stay with him, but he ends up sending the kids away. because, they're not going to follow with. And so they send him away, but the bird ends up giving the one boy with the rare blood some of the flowers that were at the demon finals that, like, keep the demons away, because obviously he's going to have demons keep coming after him. And they get to this place that the bird tells them to go to. And they're this family that got saved by a bunch of demon slayers, so they take refuge to them to make sure they're all good and healed. And they get dinner, and they get a place to stay, and everything's going good until they all go to bed. And we find out they all have broken ribs, of course, because, Zenitsu got kicked to death by Inosuke, who got hit by fucking Tanjiro. It was a whole freaking triangle circle of them hurting each other. And Zenitsu finds out, well, he kind of knew the whole time because he can hear things, but he finds out that Nezuko is in this box, and he thinks for some reason that Tanjiro is like screwing her, even though that it's his sister, and he wouldn't let him listen to him the whole time, and gets really annoying. So that's pretty much this arc. This is my least favorite arc so far. The first half was fantastic. It had mystery. It had some character introduction and development, which so far every arc has had some development for Tanjiro at least. But like 2 out of the 3 fights were epically awesome. The mystery rooms and like transforming and like figuring out how the monsters work is pretty neat. However, Zenitsu and Inosuke are my least favorite type of characters in the shonen genre, so this is going to be a long series. However, I am enjoying everything else so far, so I give this arc a 6. I think it's going to pick up again, and I have hope. But that is what I think of this arc, and we will continue on to the next arc. Alright, so this is one of the longer arcs of the season, and this would be the Mount Natagumo arc. And this one is, without a doubt, the best arc of this season. It has everything you need. It has all a good majority of the characters' backstories that we haven't received yet. The action that we've been wanting all season. The animation that just drives everything. And then on top of it, a nice nice paced plot, which has been kind of lacking most of this series so far. And damned is it awesome. So, without further ado, I guess let's break this arc up. So in the beginning, it's got quite a bit. So it's got Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke wandering obviously towards the mountain where they were leaving from the last arc to go check out what is going on. And the moment we get to this mountain, we are flashed with pretty much this spider demon and this other demon slayer who has been pretty much explaining that everybody that's in this area, they sent, I believe, 10 demon slayers of lower ranks wiped out. And so they sent 3 of the bottomest ranks out of them all, so he's confused why they would do that. And I guess they're not necessarily dead, but they are not in action. And so Tanjiro and Inosuke go in to take a look at the action, while Zenitsu just kind of sits like a bitch, like he has been on the sidelines for a few episodes here, and takes a chill pill. So of course, Tanjiro figures out instantly that these guys have been wrapped up like puppets through spider webs, and that the best way to stop them is to cut down these spider webs, and then that's going to make them not do their thing. And while they're trying to figure all this out, we see at the headquarters that they have our boy Gyu, and then we get introduced to Shinobu, who, let's be honest here, any female in an anime named Shinobu is usually a badass, and this one's no exception. She's something, let me tell you. But they're getting sent to this mountain because they've gotten word that it's just not going good. So we pace back and we see that we find out that our boy Inosuke spots what's going on. And it's a woman with these spider webs coming out of her hands. Well, not a woman, she's a demon, I guess. Spider webs coming out of her hands, controlling everybody. So they're getting further, trying to get to her while they left the other guy back there to kind of take care of that. And we run into another one with a bunch of her dead comrades around saying, you know, you're going to get killed. You need to get out of here. You need to get somebody stronger. And of course, you know, they say no. No. Tanjiro tries figuring something out, and he's throwing them up in the trees to prevent her from controlling the webs. And when she realizes that's not good enough, she snaps all their necks and starts controlling this other demon that has no head and these huge claw arms, in which Tanjiro figures out a good way to kill that thing pretty damn quickly. Teaming up, of course, with Inosuke to do it. And Inosuke, you know, they're kind of competing. Well, Tanjiro's not, but Inosuke is. And he's chucking Tanjiro over there. And Tanjiro does like a full dive and kills this demon. The demon tells Tanjiro that there is 5 of them, and that one of them is one of the 12 moon demons. Don't know which one, but one of them is. We kind of flash back to Zenitsu, who just realizes that that Nezuko's in the forest, and you know, his character, oh god. But he realizes that she's in the forest, so he's going in looking for any sign of anybody, and he can't find anybody until he gets bit by this spider and then runs into this demon spider. Come to find out that that bite that he got earlier is a poison that within 30 minutes will transform him into these demon spiders that are pretty much just human heads with spider bodies. So he's about to give up until he has a flashback of his sensei teaching him, you know, pretty much with his backstory of like, you know, you might not know all 10 of the moves, but if you master one good enough, that's all you're going to need. So what does he do? He finally gets up from being a bitch and does what he needs to do and kills that spider demon. And it's fantastic, I will say. This is probably the best moment he's had. It's the only time I could actually stand him for a few minutes there. And that's good enough for me. And then after that, we get to see, finally, Shinobu and Gyu have finally made it to the woods, and they're going to split up. One's going to go west, one's going to go east. Flashback to the other side, which is the east side, and you got Tanjiro facing off with Inosuke to fight one of the other ones. So we got 2 of these demons down, and then we got another one here. And this one is the dad, because they're like a family, quote unquote. And the dad's huge, and Tanjiro can't even cut through him. And before they can figure anything out and plan something to kill it together, he tries doing the 10th seal, or the 10th skill, and before he can finish it, he gets flicked off across the woods and tells Inosuke he can't die. So Tanjiro sees 2 of these other demons, which obviously are the other 2. And while this whole time they think the other one's one of the top demons, it turns out he's not. We see the one of them pretty much saying that, you know, if his sister, or his older sister, that's the one position she has, if she doesn't get her shit together, that he's gonna pretty much kill her. And so, you know, of course, Tanjiro can't keep his mouth out and tells him that, look, that's not how you treat family. And while this whole BS is going on, another demon slayer comes from behind and gets just chopped into like a billion pieces by this guy's technique. And before we can get finished with that fight, we get another flash again to Inosuke getting his ass just pulverized by the huge demon who has transformed at this point. And coming to his rescue is Gyu, and he slices that thing up in like 2 seconds with his water techniques. And that's pretty much the end of that. He ropes him up and says, you know, you can't even fight, just stay here. So go to the other side. And it's got our boy Zenitsu, who's, having like dreams about how he doesn't want to die yet because he doesn't want to fail Gramps or his sensei. So he's doing this slow breathing technique so the poison doesn't spread. And Shinobu's over there, and she heals him with her antidote because she is what's the words I'm looking for? Into alchemy, instead of, because she can't exactly chop off demon heads. And well, that's all going down on the other side of the town. Tanjiro is freaking trying to fight this demon, and before he gets sliced up like the other guy did, freaking our girl Nezuko comes out and protects him, and Tanjiro thinks she's like dead, but she's a demon, so she heals up right away, even though now he has her in like this like huge web up on top in this huge conformed thing, almost like cat's cradle, because he wants to steal her from Tanjiro because he thinks she'd be the ultimate sister. However, Tanjiro's not up for this, and he does the 10th technique because he realizes this is what's going to take to beat him. But the webs are still stronger than he has, so he has this flashback amidst about getting ready to get his head chopped off about his dad doing this fire dance and about this breathing technique that he knows of because of it. And he does that technique with the flames and the 10th dance, and then on top of it, it's not gonna work. But then Nezuko has like a flash from their mother saying your brother needs your help. So we get to see Nezuko's power that she does with her blood thing as a demon, and it gets like this toxic acid mixed with Tanjiro's flames. And from what it looks like with the awesome animation, like this is like top peak animators. You could tell the staff was working hard on this scene. Looks like he chops his head right off. But we come to find out before he could do that, he actually decapitated his own head, so the blade never did it, so he doesn't die. And, oh my gosh. And before Tanjiro can get murdered real quick, within like 10 seconds, Gyu comes in clutch and chops his head off. And we get these flashbacks after that of how the demon himself, why he started the family, because he couldn't remember what family was like. And he had this like perfect set going on. And if you didn't follow in this set, he took care of you right quick. It's pretty traumatic, but all in all, it is what it is. Before we get to finish that story, though, we get a side sweep to Shinobu taking care of the last girl that escaped before this big fight happened, and she gives her like a chance to quote unquote be friends and admit how many she'd killed. And she kept saying 5, but in reality, she knew she killed at least like 80 of them, and poisons her ass and takes her out. We go back to the flashback of the top 5 Demon Moon guy, and we realize that he was, before this, years and years ago, he was a weak boy. His body couldn't handle going outside, and Michael Jackson came to the rescue and tainted his blood so he could be stronger and live. Come to find out, his family doesn't realize at that point, and he doesn't like the fact that he has to kill people in order to be alive and keep the stronger body. And his parents are going to try to kill him in his sleep, and because of he murdered people, and before they could do that, he ends up murdering them. And come to find out that they blame themselves for him having such a weak body, and they were going to kill themselves after they killed him. So in reality, he's the one that screwed up the whole system completely, and he passes away. But while this is happening, at first, Gyu is wondering why he's protecting a demon before he realizes that's Tanjiro from 2 years ago. And while that's all happening, Shinobu comes and she's going to take him out. But Gyu is protecting him and Tanjiro and tells them to escape while this is all happening. But they forget about somebody that's also chasing him down, and that's Kano. And she's chasing... There's just so many freaking names in this show. Chasing Tanjiro down and Nezuko while gosh, bear with me here. while Giyu is taking on Shinobu, and she's wondering why he's defending even after at the planet he said all demons must die. And right before anything could really happen, the crows announced that Tanjiro and Nezuko are reported to go back to base. And before we cut the episode to the ending, we get to see the top dogs, which are going to be, presumptuously, from what I've seen in trailers and everything, our main cast from now on. And they all look pretty intense, like you can tell. They mean business, and we're going to find out in this last arc here. But my final thoughts on this arc is, like I said earlier, this arc was the best arc that we've gotten so far. The visuals were spectacular. I didn't even realize White Fox helped work on this project. And oh my gosh, it was just so good. This is the first time I've gone through it since it aired. And so far, I'm loving it. Not the whole thing as a whole. And yes, you heard me say that, sadly. Specifically this arc. If the whole series was like this arc, I would go crazy. But we got one arc left, and then I'll give my final evaluation. But what I am going to say, like I said in the beginning of this, animation, songs, Lisa kills the intro. The character development, even for the villains, which is pretty cool. The mystery, and just the uniqueness. That's what I've liked so far about this arc. But we got one left. I'm going to finish this arc. We'll discuss it as a whole, and then we'll close this up. So, with that being said, let's get on to the next arc, shall we? All right, we've reached the last arc of season 1, and after that climactic ending of the last arc, we needed to have a come down in order to recharge before they entered the film and season 2 and what is to come for the future here. Now, this arc had its moments, and it was definitely more of a, I wouldn't say filler, but definitely something that took some time in the gaps and filled them in, while at the same time getting more development into the reasons of everything. So with the last arc ending, obviously, like I said, Tanjiro and Nezuko and the other two got captured, and they are brought to the mount where all of the higher ups are at. And now they're being put on trial because obviously as a demon slayer, you're not supposed to have a demon with you. And out of all of them, they're all kind of separated on how they should feel. There is a total, if I remember correctly, of 9 of them. And we've met Shinobu, we met Giyu, and now we're meeting the rest of them. Or it might be 8 of them, my bad. And majority of them are against this happening. There's like a couple of them, like Mitsuri, and I think mostly just her, but and Shinobu at this point as well, along with Giyu, and they're kind of deciding whether they should slaughter them or keep them alive, and they're gonna wait till the master comes. However, out of all of them, I'd say Obanai and Saneme are very much against it. In fact, Saneme is like, no. He stabs Nezuko a few times and pretty much says, if she drinks my blood, it's sus, and we're gonna kill both y'all. And so they do the test, and Nezuko passes. Obviously, between her brother and just everything she's gone through so far in the last couple of years, everything's gone good. And Of course, Tanjiro's been acting like a fool, and he gets put in his place quite a few times in this whole event, being tied down. And the master also gives reassurance, because obviously Tanjiro's master and on top of it, Gyu are both pretty much, swearing their lives away. So if Nezuko ends up freaking attacking a human, those two plus Tanjiro will commit seppuku and kill themselves. And whatever, it works, everything's good to go. At the end of it, we have Shinobu, and she says, take them to my base so they can heal and train. So we get to the base, and pretty much you've got Zenitsu, who's got to take these meds and grow his limbs back. Inosuke has lost all his dignity, and they're pretty much just trying to build their lives back up against and get back out into the fighting world. Now, the two losers are kind of weak. They don't even want to do it at first, like at all. But Tanjiro obviously wants to get back up on his feet and do this again. We also get to see Kano, who was in the last arc. She kind of just stopped Tanjiro, but she's training all of them, but mostly Tanjiro for the most of the arc, because she is an underling of Shinobu. And they are pretty much focusing on this breathing technique that raises your stamina and keeps you top shape. And if you do it right and you do it all day, that's Tanjiro's biggest thing. And it kind of goes to this training arc for a while. And then after one day, Shinobu kind of meets Tanjiro on the roof and pretty much just talks to him and asks him, what his goal is. Obviously, we kind of know what it is. And he kind of says, is there something wrong? You seem angry, because he can sense like emotions with his breath, And she kind of starts talking about her sister, who ended up dying from a demon because, well, she felt the exact same way Tanjiro did. And so she's putting all of her, hopes and aspirations essentially into him because she can't do it herself. Now, Tanjiro ends up putting his responsibility to these three little nurse assistants that have these little doodled faces, though I do love their just little kind of quirky personalities. But he pretty much tells them, if I'm not doing this breathing in my sleep, beat me to death with these laundry rackets. And they do, and it's pretty funny. But I guess the test of it is they take these gourds with extra thick outers, and if they can blow it up with their breath, that's a good sign. Starting from the smaller ones and working their way up to the bigger ones, that the biggest one, which Kano actually can blow up herself, and the other two are still kind of lazy, not doing their training while this is going on. And then we get a Kano's backstory about how she grew up in the slums, her parents sold her off, she didn't know how to make a choice for herself, and then Shinobu and her older sister end up picking her up and kind of taking her in and raising her. And even though at first Shinobu was pissed because she would never make a choice for herself unless somebody told her to, but she never really had a reason to make a choice for herself. And so her sister gives her a coin and is like, you know what, you can decide your life choices with the flip of this coin, which she follows through to this day. It's kind of sad, but it progresses in a little bit. So we find out that all their swords are coming back, well, at least Tanjiro and Inosuke, because they destroyed their swords, obviously. And the swordsmith is pissed. He's fucking pissed. He's chasing around with a butcher knife, and Shinobu's just watching and asking if it's part of the training, and it's obviously not. And so they get their swords back, and the swordsmith for frickin' Inosuke is really pissed because he's obviously chipping his sword again, and he put all his work to make dual-wielding swords. But we go back to the training montage, and Tanjiro is actually being able to catch her. He puts the cup on her head a couple times, and he has this moment later on where he's trying to go up to Nezuko, even though she's been passed out for a couple days, and he's like, am I doing it? Am I gonna do this? Is everything gonna be okay? And mentally he hears her say, you got this, you got it, brother. And obviously she's not awake, but mentally, they hear it. So we go to training, and he's 50-50 with the cup game in the training seminar. the training cups with Tanjiro and freaking, like I said, it's the name game with the show with Kano. So they're both pretty tied up, and we get this cutscene right after with the lower half of the moon demons, and Michael Jackson kills like every single one of the lower half demons because they're useless. They don't do anything. The room that they're in is like this, like yet again at the beginning with the bongo guy, where it kind of shifts everywhere. And the CG is a little weak, but you know, it is what it is. They pretty much put their whole budget in the last arc, and I get it. But Michael Jackson has also switched forms now, and I guess sense. So now he's in like a yukata, and he looks more like a woman. But he kills all of them except for one of them, who he ends up giving blood to and puts on this infinity train, which is going to be, obviously, because I mean most people know, the movie in the next arc. So, and also on the infinity train, I did forget to mention that Rengoku is actually on the infinity train right now. That's where he got sent, which he is one of the higher ups. And we flash back to the training, and they are to join Rengoku on site after this next day. So Tanjiro saying goodbye to everybody and the girls and everything. He's lifting their spirits up like he does. And one of them's like, you know, I went to my finals and I passed, but I'm too much of a pussy to fight. And he's like, you know what, that's fine. Your spirit's with me. Maybe I'll see you again. He runs into Kano, and he's like, you know, he says, I'll see you later, thanks for the training. And she flips her coin, and it lands on, and she says farewell, because she landed on tails, which is what she wanted to do if she was going to talk to him. And he asks her why she flips the coin, and he tells her, or she tells him, and he goes, look, let's flip a coin, and if it's heads, you have to speak and listen to your heart from now on. And he flips it one time, and it lands on heads. And I think that's going to be an impact later on. I think she's going to be an important character. I don't know. Haven't seen past this. And from there on, they head out. And pretty much it concludes with, as always, you know, Inosuke's back to his normal self. Same with Zenitsu. And Inosuke is like trying to run into this train because they think it's a beast because they're a bunch of country bumpkins. So they have to dodge the cops for like half the day. But they end up making on the train. And before the end of it, you know, Zenitsu's like, you know, was it a good idea to bring your sister? And he's like, yeah, dude, of course it was. And that's the end of the arc. That's it. We get a little teaser at the end for the Infinity Train, but that's it. Which you see the demon on top that was in the lower that got infused with the blood of Michael Jackson, and Rengoku. So with this arc, obviously it was like kind of a filler to maintain what is going to happen in the next sequel, so it's part of the series. It had its funny moments. It had its annoying moments with, obviously, the same gripes I've had this whole series. But overall, it did its job, and we got to learn more and more about the main characters that are coming up and the higher-ups, and even slightly on the demon side. There wasn't much music on this end of the latter part without the action scenes, but it was all right. This definitely wasn't my least favorite arc, but it definitely wasn't my favorite arc. And, you know, I gave this arc about a 6.5 out of 10. So, let's wrap this up with the conclusion. So, in conclusion, I thought it was really good. Was it better than the first time I watched it? Absolutely. I think 4 years ago, I wasn't in the exact same state as I was now, and that's why I also like to go back and rewatch animes that I haven't watched in a long time, because your opinions tend to change, and that's what happens when you grow. Sometimes, though, those gold ones that are gold are even better when you watch them, and sometimes the ones that you thought were decent end up being really bad, but you just never know. And you know, like I said, the animation is superb. The soundtrack is fantastic. Was it like reinventing the wheel? No. It definitely wasn't. However, was I a little too harsh on it? Maybe. I can see the appeal of it with the younger audience and the more shonen mainstream audience, because it's not a huge premise. There's blood, there's action, there's cute characters, and it's sellable merch. I understand where everybody's coming from. But for my personal taste, I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10. Originally, it would have been like a 5. It has gone up a little bit for me, at least this first season. And you know what? That's improvement. I will, like I said, I understand why the fans like it. And you know what? When we get into this next arc, it could be even better. You just never know. I'm no professional critic, but I really do hope that this next season that I watch here for the next video is better. And the one that's coming out pretty soon in the future. I'm not one that's trying to make it sound, bad or hate on it. I really do have high hopes, and I really do hope that it does tickle my fancy and give me a reason to give it a higher rating than a 6.5. So, thanks for sticking around this whole video if you've made it this far in my raspy voice. Thanks for the 100 subs yet again. It means a lot to me, and the fact that you all are here, it's awesome. And for the next sub goal, we'll do something even more crazy. I plan on making merch eventually once we get to that point. I have my, ideas for merch and everything, and a hookup and connections. So we'll get there one step at a time, though. So thanks for everything, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video later this week on the second season. I thank you very much. This has been Squids. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you made it all the way to the end of this and you didn't enjoy it, I much thank you. This is a very long video, and I took quite a while to make it today, so I appreciate it. And if you feel like leaving a subscription, hey, even friggin' cooler. But with all that being said and done, I'm gonna just take a break for the rest of the night and maybe get some sleep. So this has been Squids, and with that all out of the way, you all have a good night, or whatever time it is for you when you watch this. So, peace.